And oh my god, this book, I just loved this book so much. And then we go to my obsession of the month. Hi guys, it's Lisa and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing October wrap-up. For those unaware of my channel, I publish bookish content every Thursday and Sunday for you to enjoy. If you want to stay tuned, click the subscription button, and if you end up loving the video, give it a thumbs up. This month was such a good reading month for me. I honestly enjoyed so much. I had a lot of fun. I believe that all of the books were rated from 3.5 stars and above, so an absolute win. I didn't DNF any of the books, and so let's get into those reviews. Starting with Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. I just loved this book so much. It is basically a quest. The Shadow of the Fox takes place in a medieval Japanese setting, and we follow the point of view of two characters. The first one is Jumeko, who is a kitsune. So she is half woman, half fox, and she was trained all her life in this temple to take care of something that she wasn't really aware of. And then something horrible happens, and she is the only survivor of the temple, and she now carries the responsibility to take a scroll from her temple to another temple in order to make sure that a dragon don't emerge. And so this story is basically a quest. It was a little bit of a Lord of the Rings story, if Lord of the Rings were obviously more to the young adult public and if it was inspired in a Japanese setting. But it was very much that feeling, you know, like we start with Jumeko and we see how from point A to point B, you know, she has this path and these different adventures, and in those different adventures she starts meeting people. The main one is Tatsume, who is a samurai that is from a shadow clan, and you know, like he's kind of a bodyguard, but he also has his own agenda because he also wants to scroll. It's just fascinating. The proper journey is what is interesting to us, and this journey isn't really finished in this book. I'm assuming this is like the trilogy as a whole, so you get to enjoy the different characters that they met, the different settings, the different monsters that they face. I ended up rating it with a 4.5 stars. I heard that this book was gonna read as an anime, especially on the Full Metal Alchemist vibe, and I think that's a very accurate description. If you are in for, you know, a quest of the characters, but in this quest they meet a lot of people that is, you know, heartwarming or that is horrible, or you know, like you have feelings. This is your book. Ow. This is your book. Then we move to Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, and this story follows mainly the point of view of Wallace, who is this 40-year grumpy old man whose main focus in life has been his job, and he's been basically, you know, like very mean. We start this book with an opening situation in which we clearly see how bad of a person Wallace is, and you know, you don't really root for him. We are happy when he dies, and so when he dies, Reaper comes from his soul, but he is delivered to some sort of tea shop where Hugo is waiting, and Hugo is this Karen who makes sure that the souls, you know, make peace with themselves and they are able to go to the beyond. This book was so cute. I didn't love it as much as I was hoping, and I reckon that maybe it's because of the topics that it had. It has a lot of trigger warnings related to death, so suicide, loss of children, you know, just dying for a heart attack when you're not expecting that. But if you're okay with that, it's a very good book to, you know, grieve, because it's beautiful to see different perspectives and how the death is not the end, but it's rather a beginning, and how even if you are a bad person, you know, you always have more than life, I guess, that you can still evolve. And I think that message was beautiful, and it actually started and I was so into the book. I was a lot of the time like, oh my god, this book, oh my god, this book, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry. I didn't cry. I don't know why this isn't a perfect match. I ended up rating it with the 4 stars, which is still super good. I loved Wallace and his arc and how he faced different situations. I loved Hugo. I love, you know, the different cozy characters. We have a grandfather, we have a dog, you know, like we have the ingredients, right? We do. It was just that maybe the topic wasn't really vibing with me, and I wasn't as much as in the mood as, for example, I was with A House in the Cerulean Sea, because I reckon that the tone for both books is really similar. We have this humor that is dark, but it's also, you know, like just hilarious. These characters that are super cute from the beginning, and you know that you're gonna root for them. So please give it a try, because it's a really good book. And then we go to my obsession of the month, which was Ace of Spades. And oh my god, this book, it was pitched as Gossip Girl meets Get Out, the movie. I cannot believe how accurate this description is. I'm not sure if you've seen any of those, but Gossip Girl is this TV series that talks about a school of rich people in which one day everyone starts receiving messages talking about the lives of a subset of the most popular characters of the series, right? And we spend a lot of time in the series figuring out what happened, and you know, like, we just get there. And for Get Out is, well, it's a mess of a movie. I'm not gonna, you know, give that away, but it's super good, but it's more on the terror side. And so this book, you know, I read it super fast. It's fast-paced, it's ingenious. It actually makes you think. It talks about a private school in which the first day of the course, everyone starts receiving messages about the life of 2 of the characters. But these characters are the only Black people in the whole course, or even in the school. And so you see from the beginning that something is really wrong, because one of the characters is, you know, like the popular girl. Meanwhile, the other one is just, you know, like a nobody. He was really low-key. He wasn't really, you know, like known. When you start the book, you are like, yeah, like I can imagine why the point of view or the stories, the things that happen to the character that it's popular makes sense. But seeing that they are the only Black people, and also, you know, it's also the story of the unpopular guy, something is amiss very soon. And you know, the things that are discovered are really weird, and you know, it was just so good. I was so obsessed. I spent a lot of time doing hypotheses on what was happening, what was this, what was that. Please, please, please give it a try. I must say, I wasn't really a super fan of the ending, but I acknowledge that it might be because I spent so much time doing my own hypotheses. It ended in one way and it was different to my hypothesis, and you know, like, maybe I didn't like it as much, but it was a good ending. It was a phenomenal book. I rated with 5 stars, and I really, really, really recommend. It's a standalone. It's phenomenal. Give it a try. Then we move to A House of Salt and Sorrow. This book, man, did it surprise me. I thought that I was gonna be okay with this book. I mean, when I was a child, I loved the fairy tale of the 12 dancing princesses, so I was kind of compelled to the story. But when I started it, I, you know, was a little bit confused. There was a lot of different names, and I wasn't really into it. This story describes the story of a main character who lives in this manor by the sea, and they are 12 sisters, and little by little the different sisters start dying. And so our main character is trying to figure out what's happening, because it seems that, you know, like, it's natural causes, but then she starts seeing ghosts, and they also go, as for the retelling, to some dances and things happened. I needed to push a little bit at the beginning, because when talking about all of the sisters, like, the men, there are 12 sisters, right? Like, I was like, I know the main character is Annalie, that I see, but the other sisters, it was a mess for me. I didn't know who was alive, who was dead. It was confusing. After a while, I just got into the book and I find myself really enjoying it. It isn't really new. Like when you are reading it, you kind of feel that some of the tropes are familiar, but in a good way. And it actually, you know, did a plot twist at some point that I wasn't really expecting, and I was thrilled to see that, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 stars. Please try it. This author has just released another book, Small Favors, that it's also getting super good praise. It's worth to say that A House of Salt and Sorrow was a little bit creepy in a way in which I wasn't really expecting. There were some scenes that were like that you need to read it fast, or you know, maybe skip a little bit if you don't want to get into those scenes, because I still have it in my mind. Kind of disturbing. That was the point. It also has, you know, a slow burn. It was a good read. And then we went full witchy mode reading Payback the Witch and the Ex Hex. I actually did a video reviewing the both because they were like similar in the theme, so I'm gonna be brief discussing both of the books and also my reactions to that. But if you want to get more detail, you have the video down below and maybe in here or here. So starting with Payback the Witch, it was so great. I loved it so much. It's the perfect blend between Halloween Town, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It really was, and I'm a sucker for Halloween. I couldn't be more in my element. I enjoyed the book immensely. It helped me to get into this Halloweeny mood. And this book talks about a main girl, Emmy, who is a witch, but some time ago she moved out from her town and she ceased to be a witch, because in here you can only be a witch if you live within the limits of the town. If you go away, you're not a witch anymore. Every now and then in this town, the different family of witches do a set of tournaments in order to see, you know, which the family that needs to have more power, and it seems that through these tournaments some of the power gets down to the family that wins them, and the role of the family of our main protagonist is of a referee. And so she comes back, she starts bonding again with their best friend, and you know, she has a delightful romance with another witch from other of the family of witches. It was so cute. It was uplifting. It was funny. The story was super interesting. The tournaments were like creative, and really it was a delight. If you're in the mood of witches, of having a queer romance, seeing a little bit of tournaments and really having a standalone that it's not complicated at all, go for this book. I ended up giving 4.5 stars. What can I say? I loved it. And then for the Ex Hex, this book was similar to Payback the Witch in some of the themes, meaning our main protagonist is witch. We have this town in which Halloween is upcoming. There's this beautiful sense of jack-o'-lanterns everywhere, and that was a phenomenal setting. But the story, it's a little bit more, you know, steamy, and it's a second chance story. And so we follow 2 points of view here. It seems that some time ago Bibi and Reese were together. They broke up horribly, and she decided to curse Reese. So Reese goes away from this town, and when he needs to come back a lot of years after that, he seems that for once he hasn't really forgotten Bibi, nor she has forgotten Reese, but then the curse falls heavily upon him. And in doing that, he not only is cursed himself, but also the whole town, and the magic is kind of broken. And so they need to work together to fix the magic, and you know, like, things happen between them real fast. I didn't enjoy this book as much. I was annoyed a little bit on how, you know, very important things were happening in the book, and you know, like, we passed them very quickly and we were facing a lot of more pages on the romance. Like, I do love romances, I do love them. The things happened fast, and it seemed that it missed the spot a little bit for me. I actually rated it in a 3.5 stars. Maybe you love it, it might work for you, you know, reading is subjective. And then I'm now in the middle of Horrorstör, and I'm loving it so far. So I might need to finish that up and, you know, come with my feelings. So stay tuned. Alrighty then, that was it for today. I really hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and let me know down below in the comments, did you read any of this book? Was any of these recommendations useful? Is there anything that you would like to know? Just let me know and I'll be thrilled to answer. And if you like to see more videos like this one, subscribe to the channel and we'll see each other real soon. Have a very good day. Bye!